been around the world. Actually not that far, but I'm back. Today in group class, the movement, one of the technical movements we're going over is the toes to bar. It's a literal contact of my toe to the bar, connected multiple times. I'll give you a visual because I'm a visual learner myself. So I will show you that, and then we'll kind of break down its parts, what we consider as coaches when training athletes, and athletes, what things we try to get athletes to consider as well. Cool? So toes to bar. The joke is, I apologize for making that look easy because that's not easy. There's a lot of foundational pieces that you need to have. One, baseline grip strength, right? If you can't hang on the bar, doing nothing more than hang there for 1 minute, you're probably not going to be that successful at connecting toes to bar. To a base level of abdominal strength, your ability to bring your feet up in the air like that takes an immense amount of core strength. And then 3 is going to be flexibility of the hamstrings. If you can barely touch your toes, it's going to be quite difficult to get those as well. So those are the 3 foundational pieces that we as coaches need to recognize whether the individual has. Because if they don't, we already know in our heads, we're going to have to make some regression, right? We talked about regression models yesterday with the handstand push-up, but we have a built-in regression model for every single movement that we propose at our facility. So the toes to bar. The biggest difficulty from a technical standpoint is going to be how to connect them, meaning how do we get these individuals to not just do 1 at a time? Anybody can do that, but it's connecting 2, 4, 10 at a time. And the principle, the guiding principle to any of these regressions today is going to be a kip. A kip is a controlled extension and flexion of the shoulder girdle in the hanging position. Now that I say that, I want you to kind of identify that reference point, that this is flexion, fancy term for closing the armpit, and extension, a fancy term for opening the angle of the armpit. I am actively thinking about doing both. What happens with my legs are a byproduct of that. I'll show you what a kip swing, K-I-P, looks like. It's a real basic model, but it shows a lot of control, right? When we as coaches are building in our warm-ups, we build those into the warm-ups because not only is it a great warm-up, it's a great assessment, quick assessment tool that a coach can use during warm-up to see which athletes are really going to struggle with that movement today. And I haven't even talked about that. So it's a way to hack the warm-up when using toes to bar, or when toes to bar in the workout that day. So something else I also want you to consider is that it's philosophical, it's a deep, but you really gotta think about this, and that's that regardless of the height that you bring your feet, whether you're bringing it all the way up to the bar or mid-level or just up to your chest, which is one of the regressions that we use, that the speed of the kip, the tempo, does not change, no matter which height. The higher you get, the faster you have to bring your legs up and down to match the speed of the kip. So the 2 tempos going on are chest forward, chest back, and legs up and legs down. These 2 have to match the same tempo. The individual that cannot connect them is the individual that cannot connect the tempo of both the feet kicking up with the tempo of the chest moving forward and back. What I'm going to do is show a series of progressions of my height, of the height that I bring my feet. From really short, punchy with my knees, to that nice, strong leg erected position. But what you'll notice is that the speed of my kip matches the speed of my kick. That's what we say. The kip has to match the speed of the kick. Watch it. No matter which height I brought my feet, it maintained a speed that allowed me to keep my kip going. The kip is what provides the momentum. The KIP provides a smooth pendulum-like effect which controls the pace and tempo that I'm going to bring my leg up and down. The individual that loses that creates very inconsistent movement patterns. And what we talked about yesterday with the handstand, above all else, consistency is paramount to be able to do these. Not only to do them well, but to do them at high volume. To do them well, right? For us, that proficiency would be, can an individual bring those toes to bar? So the easiest way to make the modification will be range of motion of the kick, K-I-C-K, the height in which I bring my feet. The tempo is there, right? Because in warm-up, we're bringing the athlete through the kip. They have that tempo, but now we want to see, do they lose that tempo when they bring that feet up and down? And that's what we are going to be vigilant about when we're coaching these athletes, because that is going to be the limiting factor for most people. So if they can't do this, then maybe but they're getting pretty high, I'm going to instruct the individual to kick right before the movement, right before the height, they lose the kip. So for some, they're keeping their legs they're keeping it up too long. Now, something that never gets explained a lot that's really important is that as fast as you kick your foot up, you have to bring your foot down. And the higher you bring that leg, the more actively you actually have to draw it down. Not just letting gravity take it down, but using your hips, your butt, and your hamstrings to bring that foot back down. Because if you don't do that, it will become too slow. And again, too slow is in milliseconds. We're playing the game of milliseconds. These aren't 3-5 second changes that we need to make. It's kicking my foot up, snapping it back down. So now that I say that, watch how fast I bring my foot down as fast as I bring it up. Versus the individual that can't connect them is one that can kick it up really fast, but lets it kind of hang up there, trying to hold it a little too long. And then you get that sway, right? There's a difference between swinging and swaying, and for us is the loss of control or the lack thereof. So with these individuals, what we're looking for is finding that magic height for them right now at their current level of capacity. Remember, again, yesterday we talked about, as coaches, our job is to stimulate a response, a stressful, acute response that will allow for a challenge, but not so much that it hurts them. And that's the art of it. That's something that as you get better as a coach, you'll know how to do that quickly. So let me show you those degrees. We call them toes to bar. We'll go knees to elbow is a great standard, right? Because we're building standards of range of motion. And then we have something that's called knee to chest or knees above hips is another one. Those three, I think, are a good start for levels of height. Toes to bar is obvious, right? It's a contact. You have knees to elbow. You're literally going to contact your knees to elbow. Or you have a knees to chest, knees over hips. Now, that last one, it's real enticing to stay there, that knees to hips, because it makes you feel like you're doing it. But to me, it's the most dangerous. We want to get them out of that knees to hips, knee to chest height as fast as possible, because the joke that I make is the goal of what we're doing there is to build midline strength, your ability to brace through motion, right? Because really the abs are flexing very little. Is that this right here, just to here, is building some strong ass hip flexors, but not really doing much for this. Especially the individual that's not kipping, because you can get away doing a lot of those knees to chest without ever kipping. I'll show you this. And this is something we want to, as coaches, stay away from as much as possible. It's very enticing because it makes them, they're moving the same body parts, extremities as the individual is going toes to bar, but it is not the same thing. We're trying to teach athletes at that first regression to really get back behind the bar where it's cheap and easy, where it feels lighter because it is, and to bring my feet up. So we're getting this motion here. And so that small spinal flexion is putting a lot more stress in the system than if they were just hanging, going like this. So coaches, get them away from doing that as much as possible, because it's really, you're lying to them. It's not doing much there. We want to get them to raise that height of the knee. Hopefully they can raise it so much that they can eventually start kicking out and coming back down. That's the toes to bar. Is the kipping toes to bar better than the strict toes to bar? It's a philosophical question in theory to trainers, and their answer is there's one that's not better than the other. They serve different purposes, and they both should be used in a protocol that is well-rounded. The strict is purposeful, and so is the kipping. For us, if we're looking for skill acquisition, skill piece, split training, part A of 5 parts today, a strict version is completely acceptable. But with the conditioning pieces, when they are displaced from skill piece to a conditioning piece, then it would serve a better purpose if you do use the kip, because the momentum provides volume. And with conditioning pieces, what makes conditioning pieces HIIT training so effective is volume. It's getting the reps in with the body weight. And the best way to do that, as we do with the kipping pull-up, is through cycle time. So I hope that helps. Toes to bar regression model that we use here.